remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time joining me, thank you. I hope you stay. I hope what you hear here will prove to be somewhat educational in order to help you better understand yourself, better understand your purpose, if that's what you're looking for, and hopefully helping you live a better life, a much more expanded life, much more joyous life, if that's what you're into. My intention is to channel information from higher guidance very respectfully and tactfully in order to drive home a certain message. And sometimes this message may be hard to hear. And it's hard to hear because it is often the truth. And our bodies recognize this truth. And the truth of who you are is so much bigger than who you think you are. So my job as Joanna is to be a vehicle to deliver such truths. As Joanna, I don't proclaim to know that I know all the truths. That's impossible. I am simply saying that I am channeling information that I feel is higher truth, not because it has been told to me, but because I have experienced it. In other words, I know what they're talking about. I've been there. I don't know how. I just know I've been there. It's part of my experience. So I guess what I'm doing is I'm tuning in to these beings who channel through me some direct messages to you, and they affect me as well. And I'm here to be the vehicle, and I enjoy being the vehicle to this higher truth. However, don't take this truth as your gospel. Always check in with your own truth and ask yourself, is this believable to me? Is this something I could believe in? And if I did believe in this, what sort of side effect would this create for me? In other words, if I believed in myself as a powerful being, what could that possibly create for me in terms of my life experiences? Realizing that what you believe about yourself is absolutely up to you. You have free will to think whatever you want about yourself. The what you think and the how you think is what creates your life for you. But in reality, you are the one creating it with your thoughts. And what you think either expands you or limits you. Your thoughts can make you sad or they can make you happy. It's a matter of choice and deciding what you want to feel, what you choose to feel. It's really that simple. However, this simplicity is often very difficult to put into practice because we are wired in certain ways to feel a certain way about certain things. It's automatic. So a lot of the truths that are being channeled through right now are meant to question your automatic responses. These higher truths are meant to help you look at something from a higher perspective and seeing a much bigger picture. And I'm asking my guides, why? Why is that important? And what I hear them say is because that's where the greater comfort is. So if you are looking for more comfort in your life, and I'm sure you are, because who wants to seek out being uncomfortable? Not really. I mean, sometimes we do, but it's what we want. And there's a lot of aversion going towards things that are going wrong versus what should be happening right. And my job with this information is to help deliver certain truths so that you don't see things as right or wrong, that you see everything as all-inclusive. But that aside, thank you for being here. If this material finds you, or if you find this material attractive in some way, that the energy attracts you, you understand that it makes you wonder, it makes you believe, it makes you identify with yourself a lot more than what you're used to, then I would love for you to share this with somebody. The ultimate goal here is for me to be part of those groups of people who constantly remind others who they are. In other words, my job as Joanna is to channel truths that will help you remember who you are. And if for some of you this drives you crazy, then maybe you're not ready for it, or maybe you don't need reminders anymore, in which case you don't need to be here. But if you're here, chances are you still need some reminders. I, as Joanna, need reminders all the time. My head gets in the way. And I'm sure so does your head sometimes get in the way. Okay. Overall, what humanity is seeking right now is a greater level of emotional independence. That simply means that there isn't a whole lot of that happening. Majority of people feel in some way, shape, or form imprisoned in their own human awareness. And most of them don't even realize that they are imprisoned in their own inner awareness. Most people don't realize how much they are in their own prison that they are making over and over and over again, and they get stuck in it, not realizing the stuckness they're creating is in many ways their doing, though it is not a blame. This is an indication of one's power. So if me saying to you that you are a powerful person drives you crazy, tune in and ask yourself, why does this woman drive me crazy? Maybe you don't like my voice, that's perfectly okay. Sometimes vibrationally we don't align with certain people. I don't take that personally, and neither should you. It's just you want a different flavor. But again, if you're here, then something is grabbing your attention. Maybe it's the mystery of this material because it feels very mysterious in some ways. Not confusing, but just mysterious. So today we're going to go through three different piles. It was suggested to me that this time I use crystals in order for you to choose your pile. And I thought, oh, I haven't really done that before. Maybe once in the last 3 years. But this was like, I picked a crystal. They had me do research on what each crystal represents. And that's almost like a pre-message. So you will be choosing based on what you see and what you hear and what the message means to you. In other words, whatever you're attracted to the most, either through a message or through looking at this crystal. And in essence, these crystal or the message is going to speak to you vibrationally, and some will speak louder than others. Okay? You may listen to all three. Likelihood of having a message in all three piles is great, because at the end of the day, what the material that I, Joanna, channel is a material that comes from such a high perspective that it could be applied to virtually anyone. It's just the way it's presented. But sometimes we need to learn how to read between the lines. Okay. Example. Someone may say, oh, you're not looking so awesome today. But what they're really saying is, God, you look like shit. My gods don't deliver the message in the second way. It's usually the first way. Though sometimes if it's not getting through, they kind of go more towards the knock, 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 knock. Do you not hear me? The whole world is in a big, massive resistance right now. What's the resistance towards? Change. Yet the world is changing. So the world is changing, and there is a massive resistance towards change. This massive resistance creates what? Discomfort and pain. Pain and discomfort is on the outside. Always on, on the inside, always on the inside. You may see terrible things on the outside. You don't feel on the outside, you feel on the inside. How you feel about yourself will often determine how you will experience your own experience. In other words, in order to change the outside experience, you have to look at your own inner experience and what that inner experience is projecting to the outside. In other words, what does the outer world telling you about you? Now, someone may say, well, if there is atrocities happening and somebody is being brutally killing people, does that mean that I am a killer? No, it does not mean that you're a killer, but it does mean you have some judgment about this particular person you call killer. And they are a soul just like you. They've chosen a different path, and the word chosen can be challenged. They are on a different path than you. Your path, quote unquote, is dark, light. This path from the other person is dark. But it's not a matter of good or bad. It's a matter of different. Judging people based on what they're doing is irresponsible. Oof. Okay. How does that work? Well, how else do we judge people? I guess by what they say, by what we observe about them. But it does matter what people do. Thank you. What people do is not often indicative of their intentions. People often do things not realizing that's their not intention. Or they do something not knowing what the intention is, not being conscious of that intention. And that often creates it creates chaos. Okay? Again, my job as Joanna is to help you remember that the chaos that you are experiencing is pure perfection. Not to the intellect, not to the human understanding of how life is supposed to be, but to from a higher perspective. You are a being having an experience because it's all valuable, no matter what or who. That's called seeing from the space of oneness. And if you're not seeing everything from the space of oneness, you're seeing everything from the space of separateness, including you. You see yourself as something or someone separate from source. That's not who you are. You're not separate. You can't possibly be separate. You are part of it all. You are part of all that exists. All that exists is all a part of you. There is no distinction other than you are being expressed in this particular 3D human form. But your 3D human form is not who you are. You say to yourself, my body. You don't say I body. So if you have a body, who is the you having the body? It's not the body having a body, it's you. So who are you? Spoiler alert, you're part of source. That's who you are. And if this drives you crazy, then ask yourself, why is this difficult for me to accept? Perhaps you're having difficulty accepting that you are part of source. And perhaps you intellectually tell yourself one thing, but you're having a battle. Well, how can I be? Perhaps it's not trying. Perhaps it cannot fit into your human head. It's not supposed to. Your human head is never going to truly understand that. It can't. It's not designed to do that. You have to go beyond your current human understanding and see things from a different perspective, a much higher perspective. Then you will see the oneness, including the oneness that is you. You are part of oneness. So if you are part of someone and someone is part of you, why would you be fighting them? All you're doing is you're fighting yourself. That's where the work is right now. The work is about understanding how do we fight within ourselves? What is in the internal world happening that's creating conflicts, fears? It's about understanding who we are as a soul and as a human being. And understanding that as a human being, our soul has a purpose for what we are experiencing. To our soul, it's not a matter of good or bad. To our soul, it's a matter of experience. And so is to the rest of consciousness. You deem things as good and bad. Okay? When we live in polarity, we are out of balance. Okay? Polarity, in order to be in balance, has to be integrated. In other words, we are going through a time where heavy shadow work is coming up to the surface in order to be integrated, not gotten rid of, but integrated. In order to integrate something within you, you have to accept something within you about you. You have to accept an aspect of yourself. You cannot integrate a part of you that you are denying or rejecting. Cannot happen. Will not happen. It can never happen because you're rejecting it. So the first question to humanity is, what is humanity rejecting about itself in terms of its own understanding of what humanity is? What is humanity rejecting right now? One of the things that we are denying is our own power. We believe that we don't have the power that we actually do. It's a matter of perspective. You're here to live out different perspectives. And having this understanding allows us to make a choice which perspective we would like to live, which perspective we would rather choose to experience or live. If you believe that everyone is an angry person, you will be on the lookout for angry people. You will be experiencing angry people. And then you will say to yourself, I knew everybody's angry. I told you so. No. This is simply happening because it's what you believe. You're making it happen in big way. It's not happening to you. You are equally responsible for creating this in your life. Now, the human is going to jump right about now and say, are you saying to me that I caused my loved one's death? Absolutely, you didn't cause it. No. Well, hopefully you didn't. But you chose to be a part of it. You chose to be a part of this experience for a reason. Your soul has a reason for you having this experience, and it's of value. Remember, your soul doesn't see death as bad. To your soul, it's just an experience. It's a moving through it's movement through a portal to a different dimension. That's what death is to your soul. Okay? Your soul remembers that. You don't. So what you deem as death seems final to you. Nothing can be final because there is no beginning and no end. There is no final to you. When your body expires, you finalize a certain experience and you move on to the next, but you don't cease to exist. So when you have an experience of someone dying and you come from the perspective that, okay, they just shed their body, their soul is absolutely fine, you will have less pain and less judgment to live with. And that's very freeing. Everybody is experiencing whatever they are experiencing for their own unique reasons. Doesn't matter what we say about them. Doesn't matter what we judge or what we think about them. Everyone is here doing the same thing. Experiencing life to the fullest. Somebody's idea of living life to the fullest may be very different than yours. Somebody's idea of living the life to the fullest is having diet full of ice cream. That's another person's nightmare. No two people are the same. So just as your soul is very different and unique from other souls, but it's not separate, it chooses different experiences. To your soul, it's just an experience. We are not minimizing the level of pain and tragedies that we experience in life as human beings. Absolutely not. That would be irresponsible to deny the severity of that on a human level. After all, you're a human. You're supposed to feel all these things. It's part of your experience. You're not here to be a victim. Does not mean you have not been victimized. Absolutely, yes. It's part of the human experience. But as long as you consider yourself as a victim, you will remain the victim, and you will continue to attract people who will somehow or other victimize you. You will feel victimized, and that will be your proof. See, I told you, people disrespect me, people judge me, whatever it is that you tell yourself about other people. Okay, it's all part of your experience, neither good nor bad. So number one, for us, all humanity, the thing we might want to consider is, let's look at the idea of judgment. And let's look at, how do we judge? And we judge all the time. There is no end to our judgments. Judging is not necessarily bad, okay? Based on my judgment, this is what I choose. You can call that a discernment. But when we're being judgy, and we are judging people based on our own assumptions and beliefs of who they are supposed to be according to us, based on our morality, then we're being judgmental people. Well, let's face it. Okay? Now, don't judge yourself for judging, because that's not going to help. Recognize just how much we are judging ourselves and everybody else. Social media thrives on judgment. Every picture that's posted in whatever capacity is there to create a certain something. It evokes, right? That's why people post pictures. It's to evoke a certain feeling. Okay? They may not be conscious why they're posting a picture unless it's someone trying to market someone, but there's a reason for it. For one, they want to be seen. Everyone has a reason for everything. They may not be conscious of it, and usually they're not. Be mindful that not everybody is the same as you. They're not supposed to be, which means their belief systems will also likely be different. If you judge someone based on their belief system, what you are saying is that your belief system is somehow better than their belief system. Are you the judge of that? How do you get to be the judge of that? That's funny. That's clever. How do you get to judge that? Okay. So let's go through the messages. Oh, by the way, here's what I'm supposed to tell you, by the way. Whatever you're going through right now, and chances are some of you are going through some struggles, because let's face it, the world is a mad place right now. This chaos, and by the way, it's perfection on a higher level, but it's chaos, is going to help us realize more of our potential. Okay? We get bruised a little bit in the process, and that's obviously a metaphor, but it's going to help us come out of our box, come out of our jars. We've been pickled for too long, and it's becoming too stuffy. In other words, every single soul that is here listening to this wants to experience something more and something bigger. If you're listening to this, that's you. Your soul wants to experience in a human form something more and something bigger. Okay? So if you are someone who tends to minimize yourself, that experience of bigger ain't gonna happen very well. You're gonna resist it as hell. So perhaps we have to first work through the resistance and understanding our shadows. Okay? Because we resist for a reason. Remember, everything has a reason. Everything has a reason. So if you're going through a little bit of a trial period, I'm asked to say that every single one of you is being embraced by light. In the process of what you are going through, you're going to discover why you're here, for many of you, or your mission, if you will, and you're being asked not to give up. The second message is, many of you, if not most of you, are in the process of getting activated and attuned, and I'm asked to say that every single one of you has divine support in whatever it is that you are doing. Okay? Even if you're doing something bad, quote unquote, I don't know why you would, but just use that analogy. Even if you're doing something bad, the universe is going to support you in that. Why? Because the universe has no other option but to support you. That's what it's for. So if you're going through some things and feel like the world is on your shoulder and nobody's there for you, I would encourage you, I would challenge you to change that thinking. Okay? And I would challenge you and I would suggest to you, rather than thinking that no one is there to help you, realize that the universe is just waiting for you to ask for help. But maybe you're not good at asking. Maybe that's your problem. Maybe that's our problem. We're not good at asking the right questions. Well, hopefully that's what I'm here for, to help you ask the right questions of yourself. Because asking the right question often reveals a deeper layer. And it's all about depth. Know thyself is literally, how deep do you know yourself? How much do you know yourself? Because let's face it, you're part of everything that is. That's how consciousness expresses itself. That's how it realizes its potential. You are expression of source realizing its own potential. That's who you are. That's what we are here to remember, hopefully. So you are safe, you're being activated, you're going through some turmoil, but during this turmoil, a lot will as you're going through this frequency upgrade, some of you may need as long as 6 months in order to integrate this energy into your body. And what does that mean? Some of you may actually experience feeling lightheaded for a while and have episodes of feeling lightheaded, low blood sugar levels dropping, things like that, insulin, something to do with insulin. Obviously, if it's something physical, never sway away from not going to the doctor. In other words, go get things checked out. But I feel it's likely energetic. It's in fact, it's the complication. You know how you have sometimes a complication after surgery? This is complication after an upgrade. Very funny. Because the body needs to get used to this new higher frequency. And every single one of you listening to this, you're tapped in some way, shape, or form. You may not exactly know how or how to do it or believe, but you're absolutely 100% tapped in. And you know that you're tapped in. Otherwise, this would be sounding to you like gibberish. Okay. In other words, your soul knows what I'm talking about or what we're talking about. So before we move on with the piles, I just wanted to share something with you. When one begins to realize who they really are, when one starts to tap into seeing one's potential, it becomes very invalidating to the ego, and the ego gets scared. The purpose of this material is not to destroy the ego. That's not what we want. What we want is we want to amalgamate the ego to the spirit self, so that the ego and the higher self is a companion and a constant companion. But what I'm trying to say is that when we begin to realize, not just on psychological level, not just cognitively, but in the body, that you are more than you think you are, it fundamentally shifts your vibration, and that can be a shock to the ego. Let me share with you what they said to me when I was feeling all of that. They said, doesn't matter how far you run, you still can't get away of the truth that is you. In other words, doesn't matter how much we deny, forget, pretend, don't believe. The obvious is inevitable, sooner or later. You are that which you are made of, consciousness itself. That will never change. That is solid. So if you want to depend on something, but depend on that solidity, I would. Me as Joanna, I'm trying. It's not always easy because it contradicts with my beliefs, with our beliefs. And in order to embody the greatness that you are, that you ultimately are, you have to reassess in your belief systems, your thinking. Your analogies about you have to change. Otherwise, you cannot have that other experience. Well, you can, but you're not going to allow yourself to, based on what you think. And when we shift our thinking, when we shift our belief system, what we are essentially doing, we are letting go of our old identity. And we begin to create a new identity, a brand new identity that's much more compatible with our higher selves. But it is a process, and sometimes it can take a while. It is usually not advisable for this process to be quick, because that is too much energetically charged for one human being in one sitting. Your body will not be able to withstand that. That's when people have psychosis or psychic episodes. Too much at once overwhelms the nervous system. So if you're one of those people like I have been, I want it now, I want it now, I want it now. Know that sometimes what you want is not good for you. There is such thing as too much too soon. In other words, you need to be able to handle this truth. If you don't know how to handle this other truth, it's going to overwhelm you. So many of you might be feeling overwhelmed as a result of realizing the deeper truth of who you really are. That you are, in fact, magnificent beings. Every single one of you. Including the puppy on the street, looking for home. So I want to leave that for you. I felt the need to express this, so I'm gonna let it be its own little message. And now let's move on to piles. Let's go through 3 piles. But let me tell you about the stones. So first, the stone I chose was Shungite. Okay. This is a heart healer. It's a very grounding stone, and it's a very protective stone. And there's a whole bunch of physical benefits on a physical body, but I'm gonna let you research that, because then the video gets too long. So the first one is Shungite. Okay, I think I'm saying that correctly. The second one is an amethyst. Okay, I know this looks like pink quartz, but it's actually an amethyst. It's just very light. Amethyst is responsible for clear vision, enlightenment, and sense of peace. Okay, again, there's a lot more. You can do your own research. So if clear vision, enlightenment, and peace draws your attention, then you're likely gravitating towards the message or messages from the amethyst. I don't know what the messages are, by the way, yet. Last but not least is the clear quartz. Okay, clear quartz is mental clarity, emotional stability, harmonizing and balancing. And by the way, for pile number 3, I heard them say several times, pick, choose. So pile number 3, clear quartz, you're being asked to pick or choose, take a risk, take a chance. I always say use a calculated risk, or, make a calculated risk. But if you're stuck, you just got to pick or choose. If you decide to be stuck, that's choosing to. So pile number 3, it's a pre-message. Pick or choose. Okay, let's go through the piles. So these are messages of transcendence. So imagine your body lying down. This is how they were showing it to me. Imagine your body lying down, and imagine a silver cord coming from your navel, and it connects you to another version of you, but it's lighter. It's not a physical form. It's more of light. Let's call it light. It's etheric, but it's still solid, but it's etheric. It's not solid. It's not human solid. Okay, and you are connected with it with the silver cord. Imagine that. What these messages are trying to do is they're trying to have you reach the level of this transcended aspect of you that is looking at the human body, realizing, oh, my human is having an experience. It's an elevated state of mind. Okay. So ultimately, these messages are to help you realize your potential. Literally, that's really what it is. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon. What it is. Okay, let's go with pile number 1. We have listen in reverse. We have magic stream. We have child expression in reverse. And we have divine support in reverse. These are belief systems. So it's interesting because they asked me to read those messages to you earlier. It's already showing up in pile number 1. Okay. So pile number 1, it sounds to me like you are not listening. And the reason why you are not listening is because you're having an internal conflict. Now, we all are conflicted in some way. That's just the fact. Most people. However, your inner conflict is making you feel stuck. It feels like you're stuck. You know, the tarot, I think it's number 14. Don't quote me. I'm not a tarot reader, but it's the hangman. That's kind of sort of what I see you. You're kind of embody this stuckness. Now, there was a pre-message to message number 3, so you might also want to listen to number 3. Okay, but going back to pile number 1, I'm asking, is it because they can't hear it? And what I'm hearing is they don't want to hear it. Most of you who are listening to this, there is something you don't want to hear about yourself. And I feel like it has to do with an aspect of a shadow. So are you avoiding doing shadow work, pile number 1? Because shadow work is essentially what's going to keep you vibing more in a 3D vibration. And you want to raise your awareness, your consciousness to, let's call it 5D, okay? For the sake of this conversation. Your shadow is going to keep you grounded. Now, grounded is a good thing. But when I say grounded in this context, it's going to keep you more in a vibration of 3D. And 3D vibration is very, very dense. Things move very slow. The higher we vibrate, the quicker things happen, and there's less slowness occurring, and things are just in fast movement. I don't know about you, but for me personally, I have been experiencing a lot of that lately. Not only that, the manifestation process and the coincidences or the synchronicities through the roof, like literally through the roof. And it's like bang, 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 bang. It's not just me, because I've checked with other people. Okay. When you hold back a lot of quote unquote negative emotions, it does not mean you are not experiencing these emotions. It just means that you are not allowing them to express themselves. And when that happens, you what is effectively known, bottle up your feelings. When you bottle up your feelings, it's like you are trying to sit on a volcano that's ready to erupt. What happens when a volcano erupts? Shit hits the fan. Okay? You don't want things to erupt. That's not going to be good for you or your family or for your own psychology. Okay. What you want to do is you want to deal with it effectively. You want to deal with your emotions effectively. This is not about being cured. This is about understanding yourself. So what I'm getting here is, for some of you, if you are looking for a quote-unquote cure, or you've been dealing with something, maybe bodily or a condition, perhaps is what I'm getting is that the deeper understanding of yourself will help you heal. And there's layers to what we are experiencing. So you're also on the move. What that means is that you are in movement. Things are moving, things are progressing. Which is interesting because I felt like you were stuck, but I don't see it as being stuck. I see it as moving. However, how you are experiencing the movement, it feels very heavy. So for you, it may feel like nothing is moving, but I can clearly see things are progressing. It's just there's a lot of heaviness. You're experiencing a lot of heaviness, a lot of burdens. Here's why. Whatever burdens or heaviness you are experiencing, this is about you realizing that they're there so that you can see it and look at it and effectively resolve it. In other words, lighten your load. Okay? You don't want to take your past any further. Like I'm recording this in June, but I almost want to say going back to May. From May on, June, July, August, I feel like energy is moving so fast that whatever you choose to take with you in terms of your baggage has a great probability of repeating itself over and over and over. The only thing is faster. So if there is something you don't want in your life, but you've been experiencing it, and you haven't found a reason as to why you were in this experience, what did you gain from that experience? What did you learn from that experience? If you're not in affirmation of that, if you are not in a realization of what that is, then you are likely to repeat the same thing over and over again. In other words, there's an opportunity for you to change and shift out of your old patterns. But in order for you to do that, you first have to recognize what those patterns are and find the source of the patterns and heal the source. Okay, that's shadow work. Now, of course, it makes sense because these are messages of transcendence. My job is to communicate to you certain truth to allow you to vibe higher. I'm not doing it to you. We're not doing it to you. We're just offering information. And what you do with it is absolutely 100% to you, up to you. And you know what's great? Even better than that, there's no judgment. What you do and what you decide, there is absolutely zero judgment from where you come from, which is consciousness, God, Buddha, whatever you want to call it. No one and nothing is going to judge you. They're going to help you understand what you've done or what you didn't do. They're going to help you understand. They're not going to judge. You know who's going to judge you? You're the one that's going to judge. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. Sometimes judgment is important. We have to, we have to be critical thinkers sometimes. Try not to choose based on what you feel emotionally only. Okay? Which is interesting message for Joanna, because I would say, well, go what you intuitively feel. But there may be a situation where you have a very intuitive feeling, but the 3D aspects are like getting in the way, and it's not always black and white. In fact, it's almost never black and white. Okay? Because remember, we live in a paradox. It's both. What you decide from this point forward is going to carry you, for most of you, for the rest of this life. That's how important this time is. We're evolving, or we're hoping to evolve. I'm hoping. And as a result of that, we are raising planet's vibration. So basically, working on your shadow increases your own vibration, which then helps Gaia raise her vibration. Although I thought that it was Mother Gaia raising her vibration, and we kind of sort of have no choice but to go with it. I actually feel like it's a bit of both. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like it's a bit of both. So I feel she's rising and we are rising as a result of her. Well, yeah, of course, makes perfect sense. We can't do it without her. She can't do it without us. We're part of her ecosystem. When she rises, we rise. We're interdependent. We are codependent on Mother Earth. That's a good codependency. To depend on Mother Earth is important. Now think about it for a second. How much we actually depend on Mother Earth. If you think about it, it's pretty much everything. Yet how little effort and thought do we put towards the significance of Mother Earth? There's a whole conversation that I feel it could go in another place, but I'm going to reel it in because it might get too complicated, and we're just going to stick with you here. So what is it that you're not listening? What is it that you're not hearing? What is it that you're not wanting to hear? Magic Stream, to me, the message is very simple and very clear. Learn how to be more in the flow. In order for you to be more in the flow, for anybody, in order to be more in the flow, you have to trust the process. Here's the thing. Once you realize, once you see how the process works, once you understand what the process is, you're going to have a lot lighter time experiencing new things and embodying new things. It's the deeper understanding is going to help you move to another level. Okay? Being in the flow is very important. It also depicts far less resistance. And when you're in flow, you're not in what's the word? You're not in resistances, but there's another one. It left me. Yeah, when we're in the flow, we're not in resistance. When we are in less resistance, we experience far less pain. So pile number one, ask yourself, if whatever I'm going through and the difficulty that it may be showing me, number one, what am I learning from it? Why is it important for me to go through this experience? What value do I get from it? And then the second question is, how did I arrive at this? What has led me to this experience? Because in order for you to have this particular experience, you have to have taken many, many, many steps. It was a process. Okay. Here's a metaphor. You don't just become a millionaire overnight. Well, you could. However, if you haven't developed the mind of a millionaire, you'll get to be a millionaire for a few months and then you lose, because your mind will not be able to hold on to the idea that you are a millionaire if you do not have a millionaire mind. So the question then begs, what's in your mind about you? What are your thoughts about you? What do you believe you are? What do you believe you're capable of? Look at your own inner construction. What does it say about you? Is it strong? Is it firm? Is it solid? Is it weak? Is it rigid? Is it flexible? Maybe a little bit of everything. That would be ideal. Okay. If you are rigid in your own standing because of what you believe, you're not gonna flow, because to flow means to be less rigid. When you are rigid, you sink. You don't float. When you lie on the body of water and you are rigid, you sink. You have to relax. Something I have difficulty with because I think I was drowning at some point. So me and water don't mix. Okay. Childlike expression in reverse. Bring back more playfulness into your life. Now, this may be like a very silly and childish message. There's a reason for that. As children, for the most part, or we're supposed to, are full of expression. We're constantly learning. We don't hold on to anything too much. We have short attention span because we're not holding on to anything. Bravo! If we adults did that, life would be far less chaotic. And that child lives within us. Every single human being has an inner child. However, when we reject our inner child, we cut ourselves off from the source. Now, we can't really cut ourselves off because it's like cutting yourself off of oxygen, and oxygen is always around you. You can't. What you are cutting yourself off of is possible opportunities that you could experience, that you could live, because of your denial or rejection or separation from your own inner child. There is a reason why there's a very effective technique called inner child work. I use it extensively with my clients, and shadow work, okay, with regression. So those are powerful, powerful techniques. Likely your innocence was also lost when you were quite young. For some of you, age of 3. What happens when we lose our innocence? What it means is that you basically grew up too fast. Sets of circumstances, situations, something happened, and boom, all of a sudden you're a kid no longer. You grew up too fast. And you were informed of the reality of life, and it smacked you in the middle of the face. And you learned how to deal with it. You learned how to fend for yourself. So you're very good, likely, at fending for yourself, but you might not be very good at depending on others. Maybe you fear depending on others. Okay? You can handle anything that's put in front of you. If you were not to handle it, it wouldn't be put in front of you. Okay? Now, some of you may say, well, if I handle it poorly, then that's a failure. Well, health failure is an experience. Did you learn something? Did you learn through your failure? No? Then that's a failure for sure. If you learn something, that's not a failure. That's an opportunity to understand yourself for who you really are and what you're capable of. And the discernments you are using or not using on an unconscious level. Okay? Whatever happened to you guys around the age of 3 for some of you, okay? You might have experienced somebody's death. Somebody might have physically died. Somebody might have left you. Your innocence was lost. So whatever that means to you, whatever that means when I say innocence was lost, you have to reclaim it. Either through traditional therapy or some other healing modalities, some other healings. Of course, I do this work for a living. Whatever you do, it's up to you. Make sure you trust someone you work with, because this work will require you to open up to your wounds, and you want to make sure that you can just let yourself unravel in front of whoever you are with, and that they can hold your space, okay? Because that is a lot of hard work. That's a lot of heavy lifting, okay? So you need someone to help you. Can you do it by yourself? To a certain extent. Past a certain point you can't, because you cannot work effectively with something that you know nothing about, okay? And someone can effectively show you that. This is what I do, okay? Last but not least, and this was in a general message, there's a part of you that doesn't trust that you will be supported in your path. Remember, the universe always supports you. It has no other option. It has no other choice but to support you. Also, the universe knows always what you need. What you need may not necessarily be what you want or what you agree with, but that's what you need. Okay? Now, somebody may say, I did not need to have a massive heart attack. Well, that's what your human says, but maybe you did, because the moment you had it, the moment you realized, oh shit, I better take care of myself. Maybe that's what you needed. Obviously, that's a metaphor, okay? The universe will also provide you with the guidance, always. It may not come through words. It may not come through a series of words or sentences. It may come through as a song, as a thought you have. You're taking a shower and boom, there it is. Ask for what you want, but also ask for what you need in order to experience what you want. That's what you want to ask for. You want to ask for what you need in order to help you experience what you want. Okay? Because what you may want may not be aligned with your truth, and your universe always listens to what is your truth. Not the bullshit you tell yourself. What is your truth? And the universe sees your truth. You can't hide from the universe. Heck, you can't even hide from you. You can temporarily forget who you are, but you can't really hide from you. That's what I have for you, pile number 1. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon. Okay, pile number 2. Let's see what message of transcendence we have for you. But let's first go with the stone of amethyst. There's many aspects to it, by the way, but it helps with clear vision, enlightenment, and peace. So if you are drawn to this, then there's likely a message for you. Although, again, I would say there's probably a message in each pile for you. But some may feel more strong than others. So what does the universe want you to know? We have embrace, which I believe is the world in traditional tarot. I'm not a tarot reader. We have education. It does show up in resistance. Okay. And we have blessings, and it does show up in resistance. Okay. So I'm just going to go one by one, and I'll get my own feeling on what this means. Obviously, if you're looking at it, you're in a position of embrace. Life supports you no matter what. Okay? Here's universe behind you. You are the one in the middle. The earth is in front of you. You are in a relationship. You are in a relationship with Mother Earth, and you are in a relationship with Source. What is your relationship with Source? Pile number 2. What is your own relationship with your Source? First and foremost, what do you believe your Source is? Where do you come from? What are you made of? Who made you? Who created you? Do you feel that you are somehow a freak of or accident of nature? No. Nature doesn't make mistakes. You're not a mistake. Pile number 2. I want you to hear this so clearly. You are not a mistake. Perhaps some of you had someone tell you that you are a mistake. Bad choice of words. Because mistakes are often thought of as being inconvenient. So when someone says to you, you are a mistake, they're basically saying you're an inconvenience. When we feel like an inconvenience, we feel like we are not needed, we are not wanted, we feel rejected. Pile number 2, rejection is coming up for you right now. You're at the end of a cycle. This is what the world represents. The world is your oyster. But in order for you to play in that world where the world is your oyster, you first have to let go of your fears of rejection, abandonment, and things like that. I want to say classic sacral chakra stuff. And by the way, there's a lot of orange here too. Okay? And I'm purely just channeling. This is not what the card says. 21 represents a 3 in this context. 3 is a number for me, just Joanna and my team. It's the message of expansion. You are in an expanding cycle. You are moving out of a limiting cycle towards an expanding cycle. You're right at the threshold. Something new is about to begin for you, a brand new cycle. But you do have to step over the edge. You have to learn how to trust more. If you do not trust the universe to be there to support you, you're not going to trust what is put in front of you. And what if what is put in front of you is what you've asked for? If you're not going to trust it, you're not going to take it. You're not going to partake in it. You lose. Now, there is no lose or gain from higher perspective, but you understand what I'm saying here, okay? They're saying one way not to lose is not to have any expectations. That's interesting. Expectations define our experiences, but our experiences are shaped by our expectations. So how do you deal with that? Well, You create your future in your mind, you create your vision, but you don't hold on to it too tightly. Let it go and find its own way to you. Try not to control what it's gonna look like. For some of you, trust me, what you wanted it to look like is what you don't want at the end of the day. Don't know what it means. Pile 2, you have a choice to make. You have a decision to make. Okay? You have one of your decisions is to step over your own boundaries. How do you limit you? And how do you step over those limits? How do you stop these limits from limiting you? How do you do that? First and foremost, you have to redefine your limits, number one. And number two, you have to look at your limits. Why is it a limit? What is the source of this limit? Is this limit coming from what I believe? Yes. So what do you believe that ultimately limits you? Except the correct way of saying it is, what do you believe that presents itself in you limiting yourself? Why do you limit you, in other words? Why? Is it because you choose to? If it's a conscious choice and you want to limit yourself consciously, I want to limit myself, universe. The universe, like, high five. Many people don't do it or don't want to do it, but good for you for making that conscious choice. Go for it. But it's generally not a conscious choice, is it? It's like telling that a bird wants to live in a cage. No bird wants to live in a cage. If a bird was meant to live in a cage, it wouldn't have wings. Simple as that. Okay? You are having an uptick in your own frequency, and for some of you, you may feel this in your spine. You may get headaches, frequent headaches that kind of come over from the back to the front. You actually may feel like you have stomach flu. Okay? Those are classic, I'm being asked to say the word classic, symptoms of energy upgrade. Of course, there could be other things going on in the body. I am not a doctor. I will never tell you to do something that goes against medicine, whatever. You make your own choice, and it's important that you check it out, but keep that in mind, okay? Education, but because it's showing up in resistance position, there is a bit of resistance on you from you wanting to know about yourself. In other words, you're resisting to know something about you. Why would you resist? Because it's convenient. Although, is it? Is it convenient? What are they resisting? Pile number 2, what is it that you are resisting? For some of you, it's taking responsibility for your actions. And this is not to blame, but to recognize how everything that you do and experience involves you. If you believe that life happens to you, then you ultimately are playing a role of a victim. Things happen to you. They don't happen to you. They may seem like they happen to you because you don't have a deeper level understanding. You don't understand the cosmic process, but it's not happening to you. You are co-creating it with the universe. You need to understand that. That's where your power is, to understand that. Okay, power is knowledge. Knowledge is power. Why? Because once you have knowledge, you can use it and live powerfully. Also, power is a responsibility. Be responsible for your powerful choices, because the choices you are making it with your own effort, powerfully. Make sure it's the choices you want. Why would you choose something you don't want? Maybe you're addicted to it. That's a good question. If you're constantly choosing something you don't want, then the question might be towards you, no judgments. Why am I choosing this for myself? What am I getting out of it? The ego will scream and say nothing. I will say to you, that is impossible. It's impossible. Nothing happens for no reason. There's no such thing. Doesn't exist. Of course you have a reason. Of course there is a reason. And of course, you're getting something from it. You're benefiting something from it. You're just not looking at the benefit as a benefit. You're looking at things as good or bad. Something you like. If you experience something that you don't like, you don't think of it as a benefit. Think of it this way. Something you might not like gave you the greatest source of information. All of a sudden, you know because of something you don't like. Would you call that failure? Would you call that a bad experience? Yeah, it may not have been comfortable, but you've learned something, didn't you? That's powerful. That's powerful. Okay. Mistake is only a mistake if you don't recognize the truth in it. Look for the truths in your own mistakes. Whatever you deem is a mistake. For example, when you look back and say, okay, that was a mistake, investigate. Why would you choose that mistake? It wasn't conscious choosing, but why would you choose that thing that now you see as a mistake? What was driving your motivation? Are you motivated by fear, or are you motivated by lack? Are you motivated by love? Are you motivated by money? By the way, there is no judgment on any of it. What are you motivated by? Are you motivated by abundance? Are you motivated by lack? Most people don't think of themselves as being motivated by lack. But if that's what is in their psyche, if that's their message, that's what they're relying on. And they're constantly recreating more of the same. It's the basic law of attraction. We can use that analogy. Okay? Once you know how the universe works, you learn how to play better. Not that there is better or worse. To you, it will feel better. Your life will be better. Once you realize how things work, you will make your life feel better. You'll make it happen. You will make it happen. You're not going to be a victim. You will make it happen powerfully. This is what you're here to learn about yourself right now, how powerfully you create. And the creation happens not just from your conscious thinking. That's very, very little. The creation often happens more so from the unconscious thinking, from the unconscious belief, from the emotions that we are holding on to, but we are not allowing ourselves to feel it, so we tell ourselves we don't have them. If you had something happen in your life and you did not process the trauma, you're holding on to that pain. And then perhaps sometimes that pain expresses itself in a physical body. Okay? I'm seeing somebody having some challenges with hip flexibility, particularly right leg is what I'm seeing. It's like I feel like you're lifting your leg and it's clicking. So there is, for some of you, there is some adjustments that needs to happen around your pelvis area. I, as Joanna, have gone to chiropractor once. If they freak me out. But I'm thinking of going to one recently. It came to me. Looks like it's suggested to you too. Maybe there is some realignment that needs to happen, not only figuratively speaking on the inside, but also on the outside. Okay? And I know chiros fix the spine, but anyway, if this resonates with you, go see a chiropractor. Make sure it's a good one. You have to trust him or her, because they have your life in their hands. It's your head. I just heard, no, your head is not your life. There's more to you than your head, but your head is part of your life right now, so it's important. I just want to say it's okay. Everything is fine now. Are some of you, or maybe this is a message for one individual, are you the person who is always looking for something to be wrong with you? Are you always looking to fix yourself? There is a substantial effort on getting rid of or fixing yourself. I'm going to fix myself today. Well, in order to fix yourself, you have to deem yourself as broken. Okay? Generally, when something is broken, we toss it away. If you believe on some level that you are broken, you will toss or reject a part of you away. And that's very disharmonizing to your being. Disharmonizing. In other words, you experience life from disharmony. When you're in disharmony, you're not in the flow. You're in disharmony. You're in a perpetual war cycle. Okay, so make sure that when you're looking at facing your shadows, you don't come to it from the perspective of, I need to be fixed, or what is wrong with me. Stop asking the question, what's wrong with me? Start asking, what's right with me? What's right with me? Because what's going to happen is your mind is going to start looking for what is right about you, not what is wrong. Because when you focus on what is wrong, that's the experience you're going to have. There's no other way. Okay. Also, similar to pile number 1, despite of what you believe, the universe does support you. Okay, trust. You guys have trust coming up. Trust. That's the sacral, I believe. Some of you are very independent, fiercely independent. God forbid somebody steps on my independence. Very fierce. There's absolutely a fear attached to it. If you're fiercely independent, you're not just like neutral. There is something going on underneath the hood of the car, if you will. Okay, this fearness is very protective. Now, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't protect ourselves. Of course, there is predators in the world. You have the right to protect yourself. But if you believe that you need protecting from every single person because that's what your truth says, or from people that you are supposed to rely on, like your mom or your dad or your spouse, be careful what you think, because that's what you'll experience. Okay? Believing who you are and knowing who you are two different things. It's often two different things, not always, but often. The idea here is to be in union. What you think and who you are, to be at one. In order for that to be at one, you have to be at one with yourself. You cannot be at odds with yourself. Being at odds with yourself keeps you further in a separation and far less from the oneness, which is where the entire planet is moving to ultimately. Okay? You cannot fix the world problems by ordering oneness tomorrow. You don't have that much power. Not, at least not in this human form. Okay? And as a soul, you wouldn't do it because you wouldn't want to infringe on somebody else's free will. But anyway, back to the topic. I lost it now. I lost the message. Be okay with who you are becoming and less afraid of what you are losing in the process. Be less afraid of who you are becoming and less fearful of what you are losing in the process. So many of you, as a result of shifting gears, if I can use that analogy, you are also at the same time letting go, needing to let go. In other words, you can't vibrate in a fifth dimension, let's use that, if you are holding on to three-dimensional experiences only. Okay? Because that energy is going to pull you down. And remember, your stone speaks of clear visions, enlightenment, and peace. You are here to experience more peace, pile number 2. I feel that's true for everybody. But you're lacking some internal peace. Again, that's true for most people, I would say. Not all, many. If you ignore your own self, at least know why you are ignoring yourself. Why do you ignore yourself? You can continue to ignore yourself. That's not a problem. But at least know, why do you ignore yourself? Do you ignore yourself because you think you're not smart enough? According to who? You have to question. Everything is about questioning your belief systems right now. Because you've been fed a whole bunch of bullshit, like we all have. Nothing malicious behind it for the most part, but it's just like, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. It's all about programming. It's got nothing to do with religion. It's all energy. It's all frequency. You are more than you can even imagine. Keeping yourself in a small box only makes you feel like you're suffocating. So do you feel like you're suffocating, pile number 2? If that's the case, why are you suffocating? And hopefully it's not a physical condition, obviously. But even if it is, there's obviously a reason. There's some medical reason for it. But I'm talking more spiritual. New level of awareness is coming to you, and it's going to feel like the top of your head have been removed. Some of you are going to experience a lot of downloads, which means a dump of information, which is form of light, okay? A dump of information where you may get very charged and sometimes emotionally overwhelmed, even crying. And this load of information is going to sit in your body and marinate for a while. It's going to take root. Okay? It's like you're being, what's the word I want to use, please? You're being seeded with a whole bunch of seeds from the universe. Those seeds need to acclimatize themselves to your environment, to your unique energy, and they will start to take growth. And as they start to take growth, you will begin to understand the message. It's not going to be right away for most of you, I don't feel. Okay, so many of you will experience this dump of information, if you will, download, over the next 4 to 6 months. That's how I feel. And some of you may have been feeling this already in the month of May. Okay. Is there anything else? That's it. So that's what I have for you. Pile number 2, Amethyst. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon. Okay, pile number 3. Let's see what messages of transcendence we have for you. First, let me go through the quartz. So it is a clear quartz, right here, clear quartz. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. Many things that this stone is remarkable for, so I'll just mention the few. Mental clarity, emotional stability. It's a stone that's very harmonizing and balancing. And remember, I don't know if you remember at the beginning, I said pile number 3. They kept saying to me, pick, choose, pick, choose. So I feel like pile number 3, for you specifically, you need to pick or choose something. If you don't, you will effectively remain stuck where you are. Okay? And you need some clarifying answers before you can make, quote unquote, the right choice for you. One of the clarifying answers you're looking for, or the question you need to ask yourself is, what do I need for me? What is important for me? What do you do for you? Or do you do this for you? Are you doing this for you, or are you doing this for somebody else? Are you doing this out of fear? Are you not doing this out of fear? If yes, what's the fear? Do you have a fear that you're going to be abandoned? Then that means that as long as you keep choosing out of this fear, you will not have a different experience because you will be limiting yourself. Okay, and that's just going to keep on going and going and going and going. Now remember, we are moving energetically to have faster frequencies, whether we like it or not. The more heaviness we drag with us, the faster the heaviness expresses itself into 3D reality. Okay? And it's going to weigh us down. So we are effectively here clearing our baggage. You are no different, pile number 3. You're here to, quote unquote, dust yourself off. Okay? If it's a commitment you're trying to decide on, ask yourself the question, is this the right commitment for me? Do I choose to be in this commitment, or is choice happening to me? Because if it's a choice, then it can be happening to you. If it's happening to you, then you're the product of a circumstance. You have no say about it, and you have a say. You absolutely have a say. For some of you, this may be very difficult. Me saying to you that you have a say, where you clear like you're bound and taped up and you have no say. You may not say things physically. You may not even receive the feedback that you want for what you say. But what you say does make a difference. You believe your voice does not make a difference. That is absolutely not true. I'm hearing, well, people are not listening to me. Are you listening to you? Do you listen to you? How often do you listen to you? Once a week, twice a week? When you listen to you and then you hear something, do you block it? Do you deny it? Do you respect it? Do you look at it? Do you go, that's interesting. What should I do? Or do you automatically say, no, that can't be it. That's not true. I'm making it up. Because if you're being intuitively guided, and you are, everyone is, but you are blocking that intuition from expressing itself, then your intuition will have very little say about what you do with your world. And your intuition has a lot to say, has a lot of valuable information. It's attached to source. Your intuition is part of source. It's like, think of your intuition as the cable that runs between, and cable carries information. It's the cable that runs between your body and source itself. You're in connection, communication all the time. You just don't believe you are. And because you don't believe you are, you don't depend on it. You don't, it's a choice, but it's not really a choice because you just don't know. Now it's time that you know. You always have a choice. You're always connected. You can always change your truth. You can always magnify things or make them smaller. It's all part of your experience. But make sure that your experience remains your experience. Let your experience be your experience. Don't let someone else define your experience. Certainly not those who deem themselves less than. Because if they deem themselves less than, they're going to limit themselves, and all they can give you is their limited perspective. Don't let somebody else's limited perspective limit you. Unless you choose to do that and say, okay, that's a limited perspective. I'm going to choose that perspective for myself. High five. Knock yourself out. Do it powerfully. But chances are you're not doing that. Most people are not conscious of how they limit themselves and how they have allowed others to limit them. They just don't have that conscious awareness. And if they do, they don't see it as a choice. It's not a choice in your logical behavior, but there's deep layers to it. And there is a part of you that's making this choice. You're just not conscious of it because it's A, it happens so quickly. And B, it's not what you think about every day. It's underneath your awareness, your conscious awareness. When you begin to dig into yourself deeper, you will begin to see all of that. And you will begin to have a lot less judgment about yourself and everything that you do or don't do. You'll see it as part of this magnificent experience. Sacral chakra. So we have some cleanup to do. Start clearing your sacral chakra. Actually, they're asking me to share with you the Amethyst PILE may also be important to you somehow, okay? I think because it talked about sacral chakra. So there's a connection, pile number 3 and pile number 2. For some of you, it was very hard for your mom to let you go, and she had you very close to her. In other words, she became your responsibility. And I think it's emotionally. She relied a lot upon you. And because you felt bad for her, you kind of stuck it out. You felt you had no choice. In fact, you had other choices and options, but you didn't want to take them because it would cause too much heartache for you, too much guilt. And somehow, for some reason, now you have to face that again. I feel for some of you, you felt like you were not being needed or seen. You are not feeling being seen. That not being seen or fear of not being seen is very prevalent in pile number 3. But not being seen is equivalent to you not seeing yourself fully. In other words, where you truly see you, when you see you, it's almost irrelevant how someone sees you or if they see you, because you no longer rely on that. So there's a heavy reliance in terms of how people see you, or will they see you? Will I be seen? When you ask the question, will I be seen? What you are really asking a question is, am I important? I want to feel important. I want to be part of something. I want to be loved. That's what you're saying. What, you don't want to be loved? Of course you want to be loved. That's why you're doing it. Okay? But this kind of love is not sustainable because it's not unconditional. It's conditional. It's based on the conditions on the outside. Removal of the outside renders you, I don't know, whatever you started with, helpless perhaps, not knowing how to feel strong, how to see your own beauty, how to see your own magnificence. At the end of the day, it matters very little what somebody else thinks of you. The only reason why it matters is because you accept it. Okay? And sometimes we accept much quicker than others, right? You can accept or reject everything you say about you and what other people say to you and about you. Do you realize that you can reject anything? My Joanna brain is having a bit of a trouble with grasping that right now. Pile 3, you are yearning to be more. You are yearning to be more. More, I need more, I need more, I need more. The more is not on the outside. You do not seek it on the outside. The more is on the inside. You wanting to be more is you wanting to feel that you are accepted for who you are. Somehow you wanting more for yourself has to do with acceptance. So be careful that you are not on this constant, what's the word, please? Constant search for something more, something more, something more. If I only learn this, if I only have that, if I only experience that. Because there is a lack of being in the moment. There is a fear of being in the moment. So here's the question that comes. Why are you afraid of being in the now? Why are you afraid of being in the moment? Maybe you don't know how. I'm asking the question, why would someone be afraid of being in the moment? Because when you're in the moment, you get to meet your God. That's brilliant. When you're in the moment, you get to meet your God. When you're in the moment, you're with yourself. That's very powerful. Where nothing else matters, well, it does, but not really. What matters is the moment. That does not discount the importance of your experiences and other people in it, absolutely not. But what matters is now. What matters is now. Your conflict will not disappear because you will attain something. It will mask it for a while until you get bored with that and comes up again. Your inner conflict is inner for a reason. You're not enough? Are you serious? You are made of the same particles as stars. And that's not just some phantom, airy-fairy story. That's the truth. Every star is a ball of energy. You are a ball of energy. Energy has no beginning and no end. It's all connected. You are part of the stars. Now it's just a question of, do you accept it or not? You don't have to. You can deny it. But by denying that, you are denying a part of yourself. And that's a big deal. Whenever you deny part of yourself, you will always feel unfulfilled. No matter what you do. No matter how much you seek out from the outside to fill the void or the empty space that you are feeling, nothing from the outside is going to change that. You can't get rid of it. You have to face it. So, it's all about facing the shadows. Inner child work. Going back to the beginning and seeing where things started and healing it from that perspective, from that understanding, from that energy. And it can be very much tapped into. It's not about going to the past or reliving the past. It's about understanding the past from a different perspective, using vibration. Okay? It's a profoundly powerful work if you choose to do it. It's a choice. And I'm not saying this lightly. You know, for some of you, making that choice means facing your greatest fear. The fear of not being loved. You would be choosing to face that fear. Okay? Nothing greater can happen in your life beyond your expectations, because what you believe is what you expect for yourself and of yourself. If you believe that you are small, you will create small experiences no matter what. Be okay with coming and going. Don't get stuck. It's an interesting message. Nothing in life is still. Everything is in constant movement. So it is unrealistic to think that things would always remain the same. That's impossible. That's like trying to stop the world from turning. The world is supposed to turn. Planet Earth is supposed to turn. Okay. Making a choice. Are you kidding me? Look what it says. Making a choice. No, it says make a choice, as in pick, choose, in reverse. So we are identifying some reluctance to making a choice, to deciding. Of course, whenever there's reluctance, fear always kicks in. But may I remind you, my job as Joanna is to channel information that will help you look at fear from a different perspective, and thus changing your relationship to your own fear. To where you are no longer running away from your fear, but you are facing it, and you are realizing facing your fear is what makes you stronger. That's how you realize your power. It makes me immense joy to do this work. It's like being a kid in a candy store every single day. I can't get enough. The excitement that I'm showing you, that I'm feeling, is the level of energy that's available to us once we drop our density. That does not mean that in order to vibrate higher, you can never get mad, you can never get angry, you can never be upset. Absolutely not. That's a wrong assumption. If there were no feelings to be had, you would have no feelings, period. You are here to experience all of it. The question is, how much do you hold on to something that's heavy? Because when you hold on to something and the universe is moving, You are creating resistance. You are stuck. You can't move forward. Okay? That kind of resistance creates a lot of drama and pain. Not only within your own being, but also the beings around us. Look what's happening in the world. We're all searching for peace. Yet there is war all over the world, both externally and internally. Yet we're seeking peace. Wait a second. In order to seek peace, we have to look for peace. We don't look for the other. We don't look for chaos. Do you look for chaos? Do you look for chaos? Do you look for disasters? Now, my logic was, why on earth would they do that? And I just heard it keeps them in their negativity. So are some of you indulging in too much negativity? Little bit salt and pepper is great, but if you put too much salt and too much pepper, you've ruined the meal. It's just not as tasty. Don't do that with your life. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Just do it consciously. You are here to share. You are not here to give yourself away. And when I say giving yourself away, what I'm really saying is when you're in the process of serving somebody and in that process you forget about yourself, you stop serving you and you starve. And then you feel emotionally starved. Do you ever wonder why you feel emotionally starved? You're not feeding yourself. It's that simple. If you're not going to feed your baby's going to starve. It needs something from you. It needs something to nurture it. Do you know how to nurture yourself? Do you know what you need? Do you even know what your emotions mean? What do they say? Are you afraid of your emotions? Why? Emotions are painful? Yes, sometimes they are. Absolutely no question about that. Some are extraordinarily difficult. It doesn't still change the fact that you can let them go. But in order to let them go, you first have to face it. You have to face a part of yourself. I just heard, I'm just an ordinary person. I'm not here to do anything. Are you freaking kidding me? You believe your frequency makes no difference to the understanding of the all itself? Excuse me? You believe that you were created for nothing? The universe does no waste. There is no wasting as far as the universe is concerned. You are created with a big ass reason in mind. Why? So that the universe source can experience itself through your experience. You want to ask the question again or say that you don't really matter, that you're just an ordinary person? Really? Well, even if you want to say that you're an ordinary person, even ordinary people can do extraordinary acts. So, do you think of yourself as an ordinary person that chooses to do extraordinary acts? Or do you look at yourself as an ordinary person that chooses to do just the ordinary? And it's your choice. Pick and choose. There is absolutely no judgment. You have free will at play. Okay? Make sure that you choose not what your belief system tells you, but what you tell you, which means you have to separate yourself from your belief systems. How do I do that? Well, you look at your belief systems. This is my belief systems about this or that. How do I feel about this belief system? Do I like this belief system? Do I want to practice this belief system? Do I even agree with this belief system? Do I even believe in this belief system? Why do I believe in this belief? Do you see what I'm saying? And the person that's choosing the belief system or to deal with the belief system, that's you. We can look at it that way. That's you. Let that you choose your next step. Okay? because that you is not limited or confined in your limited thinking. It only knows what it knows best, and that is, it exists to create. Your soul is creation in a process. And so are you, by the way. You're just embodied. Okay? Last but not least, delight. Okay? But it kind of showed up in reverse again, or in resistance. Here's a question that's coming for you. Why don't you want to be happy? I'm like, well, that's weird. Why would someone not want to be happy? Well, if you connect happiness with negativity, if you connect happiness with some bad experience, you will want to avoid happiness like you want to avoid hell. That's what's going to happen. Okay? Understand your own motivation behind your idea of happiness. For example, I will only be happy if I have a big house and a car. So, and this is just an example. So what you're saying to the universe is this: universe, unless you give me this house and this car, I'm not going to be happy. And the universe says, so many options, and she just wants these two? That's going to be pretty hard to accomplish. They just said performance is an idea. When you perform an idea. You express an idea. Are you a performer, or are you the true you? And sometimes there is a blend. And I in actuality, I feel the blend is balanced. It's actually optimal. Sometimes we have to put on a mask. I mean, you're not going to go to a business meeting wearing your pajamas. That just wouldn't fly. You just understand those are the rules in this 3D practice. That's okay. I mean, you know your place. But are you hiding behind your mask? That's more of the question. That's the deeper question. That's the one that needs resolving. Are you hiding behind your mask? What mask do you put on? Is one of your masks that you are constantly happy? I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. Everything is happy. No, everything is great. No. Because there is, although yes, there absolutely are people who are always happy, but even within happiness, challenges exist. You can be happy and also sad at the same time. It's just, I know it's hard for the brain to grasp it, but you absolutely can. It's conflict, but it absolutely can happen. Okay? I'm sure you've experienced this before. Being sad about something, but also happy at the same time. It's an interesting energy to be in. You are not more or less. You are part of everything. It's a really important message. I just hear ideas. So many ideas, so little time. And then I hear procrastination. Some of you are procrastinating. You have a whole bunch of ideas, but you're procrastinating. I feel your procrastination is some level of avoidance. What's the avoidance about? What if I do it wrong? What if I do it wrong? What if you do it right? Look, you're smart enough and intelligent to know that if something is a dumb idea and you know it, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make that choice, right? Can we grant you that, please? Yes, thank you. Say to yourself, I'm not going to consciously make a stupid mistake. And if I am making a stupid mistake and I'm conscious of it, then why am I making a stupid mistake? Do I want to experience something again? You see? Make it lighter. Okay? Performance. No more performing. No more acting. No more acting out being happy. Being who you are. If you're the person that is always happy, even when you're mad, you pretend to be happy, And sometimes we have to put on a mask because the situation necessitates it, absolutely. But at the end of the day, if you are not processing fear or anger and you just shove it down and pretend that you are happy, you're being dishonest with yourself. You're hurting yourself in the process because you are suffocating your own feelings. You probably use food to deal with it. But most importantly, you're not being yourself. You're not being you. And that you not being you is equivalent to being in a prison. Do you want to be in a prison? It's okay if you do. 100% your choice. If you do it, be aware that it is a prison and you want to stay there. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? But again, I have a feeling that you didn't come here to experience life in prison. Maybe for some of you, literally. You came here to learn about yourself, to share your knowledge, to experience ascension, because it is good for the body and the soul and planet Earth. And you are here learning how to unite. That's what you're here to do. In order to unite with somebody and someone is a part of you, you have to reunite with yourself. Pile number 3, it's time to reunite yourself with you. And the word towards that is called acceptance. Unconditional love and unconditional acceptance, as quirky as it sounds, or as whatever the word is, learning how to love and accept yourself is going to quote unquote save your life. It's going to make a massive, magnificent difference in your life, and it's going to catapult you forward. But it's not that it is going to catapult you forward. You will catapult yourself forward. And do you know why? Because you're going to give yourself a reason to do so and permission to go about it. That's what you're going to do. You're going to make shit happen. The only question is, do you want to? So that's what I have for you, pile number 3. I love these messages. I love the flow. I like the crystal idea. I would love to see your comments and how these messages connect with you. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. And by the way, click on the notification button. And thank you so much for supporting me. If you can, share it with other people. That would be grateful to you. Make yourself an amazing day and see you soon. Bye-bye. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon.